Hi, I'm Alex. If you're new here, welcome. If not, welcome back. I am a 24-year-old data analyst in the greater New York City area who works in education. I normally just stop there, but for today's video, I feel the need to say that I work in higher education specifically. So I feel pretty qualified to make this. I am 16 months out of my graduate program. I went to the University of Connecticut and got my Master of Public Policy degree. I also have a graduate certificate in Public Financial Management and my Bachelor's in Political Science, again, all from UConn. But I have been working in higher ed since I graduated, so I feel like I have learned some things from speaking to my colleagues who have been in the field forever, talking to people who work at the actual colleges themselves, attending webinars and seminars on student success, and constantly reading white papers on how to improve the student experience. So I wanted to sit down and make a video today on some grad school advice. Some things that I was sort of looking for from a YouTube video before starting grad school and saw a little bit of, but I think definitely not to the extent that I would have wanted it. So I am coming to you today with my top 10 tips for graduate school from a data analyst in higher education. So my number one tip, and I have talked to my colleagues with PhDs, and they were given the same advice during their doctoral programs, and I think it's extremely important, is just accept that you're not going to be able to read everything. And I think that in undergrad, this is a much more realistic expectation, but once you get to grad school, you have your required readings for all of your classes, and then on top of that, they're all going to give you additional readings if it's something you're interested in or you want more information about, or just things that the professors think are interesting. A lot of times they'll put their own work in the additional readings just because it's something that they're passionate about. So just accept that you're not going to be able to read every single piece, and I would learn the techniques of skimming properly. So if you Google grad school advice, one of the things that you're going to see a lot is read smarter, not harder. So my personal advice and how I handled reading in grad school was I would read the abstract of a paper. Most papers that you're reading are going to be scientific research papers, and they're going to all be structured generally the same way. So I always read the abstract and then went through and read the conclusion, and then if I had any questions about the middle part that I didn't quite understand, I would go back and look at the methodology or maybe read some of the lit review or things like that. But for the most part, when your professors want you to look at these papers, they want you to have a general basis. So the abstract a lot of times will give you everything you need, but I would go one step further than that and make sure you understand the conclusions as well. My second piece of advice is to connect with your cohort. So I know all grad schools are different in terms of how this works. Some people are given a very specific cohort of 4 to 5 people. Some people, your cohort is just everybody in your class that you entered with. That's kind of how we consider it on the admin side of higher ed. It's just everybody that you're entering your class with. But I would say this is extremely important, and it became even more important, honestly, with the pandemic, because if you needed something and a professor was busy or sick, or you didn't fully understand something and you didn't want to bother a professor or whatever it is, you would have somebody in your class to ask. So I had a very small cohort. I think there were 14 of us that graduated with MPPs. So at the point of taking these higher level classes, there weren't a lot of people left. And we needed each other. Like, we had to rely on each other. Grad school is also a lot more group work. So if you're able to connect with your cohort from the beginning, the rest of school is going to get easier, because you're not going to be worried about who you're put into a group with or if you're able to work well together or any of that, because you already know that you're connected. And then when it comes time for individual projects, you feel more comfortable asking others for help or their opinion, etc. These people are also, they could be your future coworkers. They could be the person interviewing you when you're going in for a job in the future. Like, you have no idea who these people are going to be to you in the future, so just make sure you're making positive relationships with them, and you never know how they're going to come back into your life. My third tip is to go to office hours weekly if you can. I know a lot of people work through grad school and this gets kind of hard, especially I know for us, our second year, we were in a fellowship during the working hours of the day, and oftentimes you wouldn't be able to go to office hours because of that. But if you can make it there, go. Go make the connections with your professors, pick their brains, ask them about how they got to where they are. If you're interested in pursuing a PhD after you get your master's degree or working in the field at all, they can connect you with people. They've been working for a long time, most of them. They have connections, they know people in the field, they know exactly what you need to do in order to get somewhere. So if you have a very specific goal or you're lost and have no goal at all, no matter where you are on that spectrum, they're going to be able to help you find a path that works for you. And I'm so glad that I did this. I'm so glad that I know that there are professors I can call now who, if I said, okay, I am ready for a change in job, this is what I want to do, can you help me? That they would be there and they would be happy to help. So if you can't make it to office hours, just email your professors, ask them if they can set up an appointment with you, but make those connections because you're going to need them down the road. And along with that, connect with a member of staff too. It doesn't just need to be faculty members. I know I was working in my department for the first 4 months of my grad program, so I got really close to the staff, but that allowed me so many more experiences. And when it came time to, like, the Office of Policy and Management, for example, was looking for new fellows for their budget division, and they knew that that was something I was extremely interested in, and they were able to say, hey Alex, you should apply for this, and help me prep for my interviews and like know going in how it was going to go. And I got the position, and it was a great experience. I'm so happy that I had that, and I wouldn't have had that experience if I hadn't made connections with staff and faculty. So going off of that, also network. If you're in a master's program and you go on LinkedIn and look at other people who have gotten masters from your school or in a similar degree, they're going to be happy to talk to you like 9.5 out of 10 times. I hopped on Zoom calls during the pandemic with lots of alumni, and they went through my resume with me. They helped me with my cover letters. Like, they were happy to do that because they want to see people from their own program succeeding. It just makes them look better in the long run. So network, I guess these last 3 things have all been about networking. Network with your cohort, with your peers, network with your professors and the staff, and then network with alumni from your organization, because again, you never know who's going to be interviewing you in the future, and having those connections going forward will be beneficial to you. So number 5 is make a folder to save readings. So you have an easy starting point when it comes to research papers. So you might take an intro class and be assigned an additional reading that you're like, this has nothing to do with what we're doing. Why am I assigned this? But then your last semester, you have to write a paper on this topic, and you're like, oh, I wish I had saved that paper from theory first year. And I think that I was able to go back to my professors and say, hey, I remember there being a paper on this subject. Can you send it to me? And you may have professors that do that for you, but if you're in a very large program, that might not happen. I think I was able to do that because there weren't that many people. But definitely save everything. And if that's like, I know UConn provided us with like free unlimited storage on Google Drive. Like, if you need to save a folder to Google Drive with all of your readings, do it, because it'll be so helpful to you in the future, even if you don't think it will be. Number 6 is to find what method truly helps you learn best. If you're anything like me, in undergrad, every semester you were like, I'm going to try this new technique, I think it'll help me learn better, etc. And if that is you, I relate to you. I did the same thing, and when I got to grad school, I was like, okay, I need to actually learn what works best for me. So what I eventually learned was for math classes, for econ classes, for anything where I was going to have to draw a diagram, try to understand a formula, etc., handwriting notes works the best for me. So I would handwrite my notes during class, and then I would transfer those into a Word document. And sometimes that meant scanning the drawings that I had made and just inserting them. Sometimes it meant just like taking drawings from a PowerPoint slide, but at least I had done them myself first. So it's a more hands-on learning approach. Not everybody learns the best that way. So learn what is the best for you, because that is what's going to help you succeed during your program. And if you don't learn what's best for you and you just try to do what other people are doing, you might end up struggling. If you don't know what's best for you, again, go talk to one of your professors. Say, hey, I've tried this technique, it doesn't really work. Do you know any other learning techniques that might be helpful for me? And they can either help you or direct you to the right position or person. Number 7 is to consider the extra degrees and certifications that you can gain along the way. So for me, I went into my master's program with no intention of getting any graduate certificates. During orientation, I heard this spiel that really it's just one extra class. At the end of the day, you just dedicate all of your electives to this certificate that you want to get, and that's it. You suddenly have a second degree, you're more marketable. If it comes down to 2 people with the same degree and one of you has the cert and the other doesn't, the one with is probably going to get a position. So definitely consider those things. I also took a class that specifically was supposed to prepare you to sit for an exam to become a certified government financial person. I don't remember what the actual term was now, but I took that preparation class. I could have sat for that exam. I had all of the materials that I needed, and I was fully prepared from that. And I think that if I had requested it, the Honor Society or Alumni Foundation of my school probably would have paid for me to take it too. So definitely look at those things. If you're looking for extra opportunities, like they're there, and you can definitely do that. I know you can also like end up combining degrees with things that wouldn't necessarily be available to you otherwise. So I know people from my program were able to get grad certificates from the School of Business, which was like a big deal. So definitely look into those things. And sort of along the same lines, look into professional development too. So we were required to attend 5 professional development events throughout 2 years, and I think I went to like 15. I really enjoyed sitting through, meeting the people, listening to the speakers, hearing the advice that they had, but your school is also going to offer free workshops on like resume building and writing cover letters and how to interview and those sorts of things. The number one workshop that I regret still to this day not attending during my grad program is they had like free Python and R workshops, and those are such valuable skills, especially for data analysts, and I wish I had done it because I probably could be making more money if I was certified that way. So if those things are available to you, take advantage of them, because once you give up and you get your degree, those things are no longer free. So definitely take advantage. I think you would also, with a student account, be able to do like workshops through Microsoft. I just did one on Dashboard in a Day with Power BI to teach me how to use Power BI better. So definitely find those things. Ask your professors if there's anything they would recommend in particular, and do them. Number 9 is a pretty basic but important tip, and it is don't procrastinate. Because I said this before, a lot of your work in grad school is group oriented, and if you wait until the last minute, your entire group cannot turn in their work, and if you can't figure out what you're doing, how is anybody else going to do their work? So please don't procrastinate for the sake of your peers in particular, but also for the sake of yourself. If you wait until the morning that a quantitative analysis assignment is due and you think it's going to be quick and easy and take you 5 minutes, I'm a huge math person, and those still would take me 5 to 6 hours. Like, work is going to take you a lot longer than you think for the most part, so don't try to procrastinate it. It's going to make your grades worse, which is going to make you worry more about your grades rather than what you're learning, and you should be focused on what you're getting out of the program rather than the grades themselves. So not procrastinating is going to help you immensely in the long run. And my last tip is don't be afraid to ask for help. I think that this is a trap a lot of people fall into. I heard quite a few people on my program tell me that they were going to quit because they didn't think that they were cut out for this and they weren't sure what they were doing and they were going to fail. And rather than asking professors for help and trying to figure out a solution, they were just going to quit. And I talked them into staying and helped them and connected them with people so that didn't happen, and they did end up graduating in the end, which I'm very happy about. But seeing that happen to other people makes me really sad, and I hear it as somebody in higher ed too, that a lot of students just start to feel like maybe they're not cut out for it, and that's it, and then they just give up. So ask for help if you need it. There are going to be student services all over campus. If you can't find one, somebody can direct you to one. Don't be embarrassed that you need the help. You're in school to learn. You're in school to improve yourself. You're in school for professional development. If you need assistance along the way, get the assistance along the way, because there's nothing worse than knowing that you probably could have succeeded had you just swallowed your pride. So those are my top 10 tips for grad school. If you are starting this fall, good luck. I wish you the best. I loved grad school. I actually think I liked it more than undergrad. Not that I did my fair share of partying. I was in a sorority. I was in the marching band. Like, I had a lot of friends, did a lot of things in undergrad, but I do think that the connections I made in grad school were way more meaningful, and I am way more thankful for like professors and things, and I know that I'm going to be able to go back and have positive experiences forever because of these things that I did while I was in grad school. So enjoy your time and good luck. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. I'd be happy to answer them, and I'll see you in the next video.